person. And before I turn it over to our Franklin County Judge, Michael Mueller, I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight, for your understanding and patience so far as we as a community navigate the challenges of going through an historic flood like we've had. And this is the phase that we're in now. I know we have a lot of residents that are still dealing with individual issues like getting back into their houses, electrical issues, there's any number of things that you're working on. And right now you may be evaluating whether or not you want to do that. And as a community, we're evaluating what are we going to do to mitigate so that we're better prepared for the next flood. We don't know when it's going to be, but we have a feeling it's going to happen again. Hopefully not as bad as this one. Hopefully it's another 50 years before we have a 48-foot flood, but we just never know. So I appreciate everybody coming tonight to learn. We're learning just as much as you all are. We have the experts here, though. We've had a lot of conversations with Logan and his team at the NRCS, the Natural Resources Conservation Service. And we're excited that we can finally get everybody in the same room. So I'll turn it over to our judge, Michael Mueller.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So like the Mayor said, I want to thank everybody for coming. I'm just going to kind of not talk a whole lot because these are the professionals up here that know everything. I do want to give a shout out. Commissioner Rob Richardson is here, Commissioner Katima, and I believe on Zoom, Squire Sherry Sebastian. She is traveling, but she wanted to be part of this meeting tonight. Just let everybody know. I appreciate everybody coming. I know this is tough times. You know, I mean, the sun's shining, the river's down, the creeks are down, but a lot of people here are obviously still dealing with this horrific event. So hopefully tonight we'll get some answers. I do want to let everybody know tonight is just about the buyout program. Okay, so I know a lot of people have contacted me and they said, you know, let's talk about dredging and let's talk about the river and let's talk about the Corps. I'm contacting the Corps and Division of Water to see if we can go ahead and get another town hall with them here. Because I've had one meeting, the mayor and I had a meeting with Division of Water. They really are looking at the overall state as far as how that river functions and where there's issues. But I would rather not try to explain what they do for a living. We will get them here to do that hopefully in the next week or two. So we're talking to them now, and so a lot of those answers could be, questions could be answered at that time. So I do want to also thank the library for this wonderful space. They're finally up and running. The library was down for a long time, but we appreciate Jean and her team. Also want to acknowledge my deputy Judge Executive Jack Kennedy, Autumn, our new planning and zone. I guess not really new now. She's been with us for a while. Autumn Gooderwise, and then Belinda, our grants writer, and then my executive assistant, Jenny Durr. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce, we have Lacey, Logan, and Bryn. So Bryn is with ER Assist. The Franklin County Fiscal Court has signed some documents. She is with a company that basically does the paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork. They're helping us with the courthouse. A lot of all the flood stuff they've been helping us with. So, and then Logan's with the soil. Oh, you are NRCS, okay. You are too? Okay, so yeah, I told you I'm learning this too. So I'm gonna let these guys go first. And then Bryn is going to I think she has some slideshows and things like that. And then after that, we're going to open up for questions because I know there's a lot of questions. You know, am I eligible if I'm Airbnb? Am I eligible if I'm commercial? Or is it just residential? Do I have to live in the home? There's a lot of things that are going on. So we are going to open up a big question period. But without further ado, I think Logan's going to start it off. All righty. Mary, won't we have a seat? We'll let them do their thing.
Again, I'm Logan Stevens. I work with NRCS. I'm originally from Lawrenceburg. I work in Franklin, Anderson, Woodford County daily. I'm the district conservationist. Besides me is Lacey Gall. She is assistant state conservationist for Area 2, which is central part of Kentucky. We're discussing the EWP project, which is Emergency Watershed Protection. That is a national program that you kind of use for areas like this. It is designed for when there is an emergency, whether it be here or national or a flood, wildfires, something along those lines, so that you just can't help. We're supposed to come back and help, work with FEMA, work with other companies, so that way we can rebuild after the fact. I'm not an engineer. I looked at the river in many places. There's nowhere that you can repair the river. So at this point, the best option that we have is the buyback program. We offer it across the country with certain agreements that you have to partner with the county or with the city, with a government entity. They have to be the sponsor, and they're the ones that will actually hold the land. They're the ones you're making a deal with, and so once everything is done, the property will belong to them. So they, at that point, they will have the property, and Brent will kind of go through the step of what happens when, like going through the buying process. She's going to go through what happens afterwards, and that's kind of where we're at the moment. I'm new to the program as well. I work these counties every day. I work in agriculture mostly. I'm working on farms. So I'm learning as we go. You can call me, you can give me questions. I might not know the answer right then and there, but I'll get it. And so I'm gonna turn it over to Brent so she can kind of go through the project.
Can everybody hear me? All right. My name is Brent. I work for ER Assist. I've been working on the FEMA and NRCS buyouts in Eastern Kentucky for the last couple years. So it's got a couple slides. The first thing I'm going to touch on is who's eligible. So this focuses on residential properties. So if you're a commercial property, you're not eligible for this program at the moment. You know, that might change in the future, but right now it's just residential properties. So that means, you know, if you live there now, if it's a rental property, if it's a secondary home, as long as it's residential, it qualifies. And on top of that, you had to have first floor flood water damage. So that could be crawl space, that could be basement, it could be first floor. As long as water got in your home, you qualify. You're good to go. Next slide, please. So this is a voluntary program. You can sign up and change your mind. You can get all the way through it. You know, we'll request money for your property. You can decide not to go through with it. There's no penalties at all for withdrawing, so you can sign up, get your purchase offer, change your mind later. That's perfectly okay. You have up until you sign the deed over to the county to change your mind, right? But that being said, once you do sign it over, there's no takebacks. At closing, I'll talk about it in a little bit, but there'll be a deed restriction that's attached to it that talks about what the county can and can't do with the property after that. So what this program entails is the county is going to purchase property, they're going to tear it down and turn it into green space. So nothing can ever be built there ever again. It could be a playground, it could be a community garden, it could be something like that, but no permanent structures can never be built there ever again. Go to the next slide. So this is the process. The left is before closing and the right is after. So the first thing is the project obligation. So once you sign up, NRCS has a couple things they have to do before they give the county the green light to start. And then the first thing that the county that we'll do is a 60-year title search. So we'll go back 60 years and make sure there's no ownership issues, there's no mortgages, debts, liens, anything that could be attached to the property that could cause problems later. This is the longest part of the process that we've seen in Eastern Kentucky. You know, they have to go back quite a ways, and if there's something that does pop up, we have to make sure it's clear before we move forward. What we don't want to happen is we move forward and then there's an issue that can't be resolved and then the county just spent a bunch of money for nothing, right? So it's a 60-year title search and then the curative work to fix if there's any issues. The next thing we'll do once the title is clear is an environmental review. So they'll look at things like, I have another slide in a second, but they'll look at things like historical site preservation, anything like if it's a historical site, if there's any burial sites on the property, if there's any past history of hazardous material contamination, anything like that, that could cause issues for the county later on, because like I said, this will be county property, and if there's an issue later on, it's the county's responsibility at that point to fix it. We've not had any issues thus far in Eastern Kentucky with the environmental reviews, but if something did pop up, it would be your responsibility to fix it before we move forward. So if the environmental review shows there's an issue, you got to fix it before we move forward. Once that's clear, we'll move to appraisal. I'll talk about how that works in a second. Once we get the appraisal, we'll have it professionally reviewed to make sure the appraiser followed all standards, so it's a good appraisal. And then we'll do pre-closing, which is essentially just where you accept the purchase offer, sign a couple documents. We'll send all those documents to NRCS to request money for your property, then we'll close. You'll get a check at closing. From closing, you'll have 45 days to vacate, and then the option for 2 extensions after that. So you'll have 135 days total to vacate the property should you need that full amount of time. And then once you're out, we'll do an asbestos survey to make sure there's no asbestos. If there is asbestos, we'll abate it, and then it will go to demo. It'll be returned to green space, essentially. They'll take out the septic tank, take out any concrete blocks, any pavement, anything like that. It'll be green space. Go to the next one. So this is the more detailed version of the environmental review, but essentially we're just making sure there's no long-term liabilities for that. You can go to the next one. And then this is the part we might have some questions on, the funding overview. So this is a federal program, but it's 75% federally funded and 25% locally funded. 25% is a lot for the county. These programs, the total project cost is very expensive. So we have two options. There's a grant that the county is going to apply for that would cover 20% of the 25% local share. So the county would only be responsible for 5%. If the grant is approved, the county will cover all administrative costs and the purchase offer, the 5% of all of that. So there'll be no cost to you. If the grant is not approved, the county will pay for the full 25% of all the administrative costs and will deduct the 25% local share from your purchase offer. Is there any questions on that? We can. I figured there'd be some questions on that. Yeah, so the purchase offer will have another slide. It'll be your appraisal, plus you want to just go to it real quick. I think it's the next one. So how the purchase offer determined is it's a pre-flood value appraisal. As long as you lived in the home at the time of the flood, it's pre-flood value. As long as you owned it, sorry. As long as you owned it at the time of the flood, it's pre-flood. And then it'll be reviewed, like I said, to make sure it follows all guidelines. And then if it was your primary residence, there'll be a $31,000 comparable housing allowance on top of that. That's to make up for the difference of moving out of the floodplain, any duplication of benefits, which we'll talk about in a second. That's just tacked on to the appraisal amount. And then once the appraisal passes review, that's your final offer. There's no wiggle room once it's been approved. You got a question right there?
Go back to whether if the grant's approved or not approved.
Yeah. So we'll apply for that grant. If the grant is approved, then you won't have to pay anything.
Where did you find that?
We're going to apply for it shortly. We'll know in the next.
Yeah, is this on here? Yeah. So I've talked to a couple of representatives at the state, and so I've talked to other counties around us, and we're the first one doing a town hall. We're the first one getting our things in. So after talking to ER Assist, the reason we're I'm not going to say jumping the gun, is because there's a pot of money, and first come, first serve. And so what we're doing is we're trying to see if we have 10 properties or 100 properties. If anybody's thinking about it, sign up. Logan and his team are gonna put that all in, okay? So let's say it's, $5 million, whatever. We're trying to at least, first and foremost, get that 75% secured, because once they review everything, they secure it. In the same time, we're doing paperwork with the state because we'll have a figure to say we need the 20% of 5 million, let's just say, for easy math. And then the legislators make the decision. It's a grant process. So we're going to do everything we can, lobbyists working on it to get it done. But we don't want to sit here and say, you're going to get 100%, no, guaranteed. We're not trying to do that, but we are trying to establish how many people are thinking about it. And again, like Bryn said, till the day the paperwork's signed, you can walk away. Even if you sit down and close and you say, you know what, that was my grandparents, I'm not going to do it, no harm, no foul. But we're trying to get as much information to the USDA to secure the 75%, and we need that information to go to our legislators and say, we need this. Everyone we've talked to at the state has said this shouldn't be a problem. We have this huge, I think it's actually called the big grant. It's like an economic development grant, but it's like $200 million, and this should qualify for it. So we're very confident it's gonna work, but we don't wanna sit here and promise something without knowing. So we'll know that. We don't know how long that will take. I assume when they come back in session, because this is kind of an emergency deal. I'm sorry?
Is the grant state funds?
Yes, the grant, well, the 75% is the USDA. They have the money. They have plenty of money, but we're trying, that's federal funds. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. That's federal funds. So I think the uncertainty is the 20% from the state.
So, I have a question. A while ago when you said the appraisal part, is that what the house looked like before the flood came in and destroyed it?
Yeah.
Is that value of the
Yeah,
house?
they'll appraise it the day before the flood. So if any damage won't interfere with the appraisal at all. Go ahead.
On this form, this paper you gave out, it says duplicate benefits.
We're about to get there.
Okay, because if FEMA's already given you grant money to do some repairs, and you're in the process of having to do some significant repairs, that's going to be a significant amount, and you want to do this, should you do both? Because that appears to be duplicate according to what this reads. So I'm kind of, I would be one of those stuck. Do I continue with FEMA or this program, and what do you do?
So duplicate of funds can be FEMA funds, SBA funds. Flood insurance is also federal money. So that can be a lot of different things that we can't duplicate. So, but if you can show us receipts that where you've put that money back into the property, we can offset that. Now, if you went and paid your mortgage off, you went and bought a new truck with this money or something along those lines, we'd have to subtract that from the purchase offer. So we can still purchase the property, but we'll just have to take those funds out of the equation. Make sense?
Brenda, do you have more slides?
If I need a bridge, a private bridge put back in, FEMA covers that with a grant. I put that bridge back in. Will I still be eligible for the full amount?
The only thing we look at is FEMA individual assistance, flood insurance, and SBA loans, and then within that, there's different purposes for the assistance you get. So we'll look at home repair, and for flood insurance, it's usually called debris removal, home replacement, or rental assistance. So if you applied for FEMA assistance, you should have gotten a letter. On that letter, it'll specify what that assistance is for, and that'll determine how we treat that. So, like for example, home repair, if you, like Logan said, if you have receipts that show you went to Lowe's and you bought wood and cabinets and whatever to fix your home, that counts, that's great. We don't have to touch that money at all. We'll add up the receipt total. If there's something left over, we'll deduct that little chunk. We'll go through all of it line by line on every single receipt. For home replacement, that one is a little tricky. That one we deducted regardless. We don't see that one very often, but if you get home replacement money, even if you use it correctly, we'll deduct it. Go ahead.
Well, what I'm trying to get at is, if there's a significant amount of work you need to do, is it worth the time to do that and then turn around and sell it to the county after you've done all that work, if you want to do the buyout?
So I think you would still be eligible for the buyout,
Yeah,
but
of
if
course.
they determine that it is a duplication of benefits, you just get the difference. They're not going to give you the full amount of your
Well, look at the
value.
timeline though. Do I want to do that amount of work if I want to do the buyout? Because I think the buyout is a more advantageous thing for me to do at this point than to put a bridge in, because this place floods a lot. And this bridge doesn't make sense if this buyout program is not going to take 2 or 3 years.
Well, I think that's an individual determination, but it sounds like though you could put your name in your hat in the ring, and then you can always withdraw it and see if it's taken too long. Is that right? You can always withdraw it, so I think it would make sense to, and that way if they do qualify, then they'll just deduct what you've already received. So
Well, how long, what is your all's timeline on getting?
I think we're going to get to that.
Go ahead, Brenda.
We'll move on to a couple slides, and we'll keep going back to that, all right? Hopefully we answer it throughout the rest of the time.
Does anybody have any questions on duplication of benefits? Yeah, sure.
On SBA loans, so let's say we relocate, get son's already passed, but we're still paying, a loan back on that. How's that duplication if we're paying it back?
It's just whatever's left over when we purchase it. When they do the title search, it usually pops up on that, and they'll contact SBA and get a release and pay whatever's left over, or we can do it before. It just depends. It depends on the person, and they treat it differently depending on the person. So
let's say I got a $200 loan, $250,000. So say the house that we lost was $250,000. So are we going to get anything back, or will that just be even?
it's whatever. So if it's $200,000 loan, your home's worth $200,000. If you haven't paid off any of that, then we'll deduct the whole thing. If it's more than the cost of your home, you're ineligible at that point. We've not seen that at all in any of these situations. But once we get down that road, the title company or us will contact you and talk you through all of that. It just depends on the person for the SBA loans. Anything else? Yeah.
Does personal property, is that counted into the amount?
No, we don't have to consider personal property at all. That's not something that will ever be considered a duplication. So it's just home repair, home replacement, and rental assistance. Yeah, go ahead.
Well,
No, you're not required to keep flood insurance. I mean, this program can take a while. I mean, we have the buyouts from 2022 that are still happening. So it is a very, very lengthy process. So, if you get to the point where in a year there's another flood and you don't have flood insurance, that would be an issue. But it's not a requirement of the program for you to keep your flood insurance.
If you have a question, raise your hand, and Jenny will bring the microphone so everybody, Jenny up front here, please, so everybody can hear.
Hi. The buyout money, I kind of have two questions. The buyout money, when that comes in, will that be taxable?
It depends. At closing, the title company will ask you a couple questions. If it was a business in the last 5 years, it'll be taxed. If it's over $250,000, it'll be taxed. I'm trying to think of the other questions that they normally ask. It depends. Most of the time, if it's a residential property, it's not taxed. They don't have to report it, you don't have to report it, but every once in a while there's I don't remember all the questions they ask. At the end, we'll have a buyout number up. If you just want to call me this week, I'll get that information and I'll ask and I'll follow up.
Okay, and then the second question is, if you decide not to take the buyout, is the county going to stipulate that you do extra, such as like, oh, you got to put your house on pillars or something silly like that? Is any of those going to change, those laws going to change that's going to affect a homeowner?
Our ordinary floodplain regulations would still apply, so if your home was damaged more than 50% of its value, then you would have to bring it up to current standards to meet our floodplain regulations. But there would not be any sort of punishment or anything like that, but you would have to comply with our ordinary regulations.
We got a question up here.
Yeah, whoever has the mic first. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you mentioned $250,000 and then paying taxes after that.
Mm-hmm.
If our house has been condemned and it's a complete total loss at 307 Big Eddy Road, it's worth more than that. It's like double that. So I'm not sure what you're talking about as far as having to pay taxes on that.
It's if the purchase price is over $250,000, I'm not a tax expert. It's not my ball field. But the title company, the county, and you would have to report it to the IRS. I'm not sure what that would be considered, but we have to report it, so there would be a tax on that.
Maybe it would just relate just like a normal tax would be if we were to sell the house outright. I don't know. Anyway.
Most likely, yeah. I mean, it is a normal sale. It's just a sale to the county, so
Right.
that would make sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify, did I hear something that says I have to fix my house before you tear it down?
No, not at all. Nope.
I'm going to quote you on that.
Yeah, that's fine. You can quote me on that all day. You don't have to fix it at all.
Okay. Because
It
mine's
could be halfway gone. It would not matter.
it's worse than
It's
halfway.
going to be demoed anyway, so it's, yeah.
I mean, even the stuff that used to live underneath the house are gone.
Yeah. I mean,
They
if
don't
you-
want to have
if you
anything to do
got-
with it.
If you got FEMA assistance to repair it, you don't have to use that money. It'll just be deducted. So,
I just need to find a place to live, and
Yeah.
I got the mortgage people calling me every other day to tell me I have to pay the mortgage, and I'm trying to explain to them what's going on. And they even know what I've already told them. They have their own disaster assistance process, but they ignore it and they keep calling me and all this other stuff. So I'm looking just to get them out of the way. I have flood insurance. I'm hoping they come through. It's been taking a long time. Everybody else on the street got their payments. Me, I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs. Anybody have?
Brent, do you want to finish? Do you have more slides?
I got one more
Okay.
before we get to questions. Move slides once. So I just wanted to touch on what happens after closing. So like I said, at closing, there's a deed restriction that's attached to the deed for all time. So the county, can't sell it. I guess they could technically donate it to like a nonprofit or something, but that deed restriction will always be attached to that deed. So no permanent structures. They could do a pavilion or public bathroom or something like that, but nothing permanent that could get damaged in another flood. You could do habitat, community garden, just keep it open space, stream restoration project, something like that, but no permanent structures. It'll most likely just be green space depending on the area. Excellent. And then I just have my contact information up here, but we'll do questions right now.
Do you have a question? And the county is responsible for tearing the house down, not the homeowner?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
good.
Yeah, it's
All
part
right.
of the program.
Okay, good deal.
Okay, so I'm going to ask, I feel like there's still a lot of uncertainty in this room, and so I don't want to close this or stop, because I feel like a lot of people have, like the mayor said, there's a lot of tough questions. Is your grandparents' house? Do you want to see that torn down and just be a park? Basically, when the fiscal court talked about the properties in the county, it's a lot for us too, because ultimately that means we're going to have to take care of the property. Our intention is probably to plant trees all over it, because we know the banks need to be stabilized somehow. That's one of the things we've talked about. So, I don't think we're going to have all the answers for you, gentlemen. Like he said, there's a lot of things y'all need to decide on your own. Am I thinking about it? Am I more than 50%? If so, contact these people up here, because again, we're trying to get a master list. We're going to get it filed. We're trying to secure as much money as we can for Frankfort and Franklin County. That's why we're here so early. And if you decide not to, or your insurance comes through with a big check, no harm, no foul. You just call and say that's it. But on the county or the city standpoint, basically, I think like Bryn said, they appraise it. They hire a separate appraisal firm. They come in, they'll say, the day before the disaster happened, it was worth $200,000. Now, where do we go from here? And the city and county, well, I can't speak for the city. I know the county's kind of already voted on some stuff and approved some money to be spent towards this, but it's a lot, you know what I mean? When you're looking at this room, there's a lot more people in this room than I would have thought. And so over the last couple months, when we have all these meetings, we're sitting there trying to figure out, are we talking 2 homes? We're talking 200 homes. We had 514 affected in Frankfort and Franklin County. So you all are here to help us too, because we don't know what we're looking at. Logan keeps saying, I want to send this document so we can get this money secured. But I said, let's do a town hall first. Let's see how many people are interested. If you think there's a possibility, and you haven't started, $100,000 worth of work on your home, then I think it's worth looking into. If you're halfway through rebuilding already, that might not make sense, because ultimately if you got money from another federal agency or insurance or something, that's going to be deducted off your money. So if it was 200, you're only going to get 100, and that's assuming the state's going to pony up that 20%. So there's still we still have a lot of questions, but we wanted to do this early because we know, I think there was 86 counties out of 100 that were affected by this last disaster. And first come, first serve. They're pretty straight up about that. So we're trying to do this early. We don't have every answer. I feel like this team has most of them, but you all still individually have a lot of questions as far as, are we going to do this personally or not? Jenny, I think there's some hands up, so we'll keep going.
Yes, you had, on the post-closing slide, you had the time to vacate. A lot of us are in limbo. And so, we may not have any place to put what's in there currently, as well as do we fix versus take this program? There's sort of an odd time in there.
Yeah.
So what's the time to vacate after post-closing?
So I'll start by saying this is a long program. We're not going to be able to purchase the first property in 3 months. It could be a year. It could be 2 years. So you'll have some time there. We'll update you as we go through the process. At the bottom, there's our website. When you sign up, we'll assign you an individualized property code, and we'll have a status report online that you can check, so you can track your progress. You can call us and track your progress. So you'll know when we're close to closing. And then there's that initial 45 days, and then there's 2 extensions you can request. So you have 135 days total to vacate. If we get ready to close and you don't think 135 days is enough, we can just push off that closing to give you more time.
Hey, Bryn, let me ask you real quick. So scenario, I think like he was saying as far as timeline. So you all and Logan just did 169 homes, I think, in Eastern Kentucky. Can you give us an average of, and the reason they can't pinpoint a little bit more is because even the title search, it's like a 60-year title search. So all it takes is one bump in the road or one document that they can't find that's going to delay it. But on average, this program, and I know this is a loaded question, but I mean, on average, 18 months?
I would say that's fair.
Give or take.
We also do have to apply for the grant, which could make it the initial start a little bit later. It depends on how many properties we have. If there's only 30, it might go a little faster because the title company's not doing as many at once. But I would say 18 months is probably a good range. It could be way shorter, it could be way longer. It depends on if there's any issues with your appraisal, your title search, if there's any issues with environmental review. We found that snags are common and they can delay it substantially.
How many did you say they had?
I think 169 they just did in Eastern Kentucky.
How many have you finished?
ERSIS, we've worked in 3 different counties.
How many have you closed?
In Letcher County, we've purchased almost 200, and then in Perry County, we're up to 100 in NRCS.
The ones he just mentioned.
Over half, yeah, I'd say, yeah.
And there's a different piece to the process, because once the house closes and you all get your money, then we are still working to tear down the house. That's part of this for all of us. Tear down the house, restore the green space. So even though some of these, we're looking at longer blocks of time, then the money actually going in your bank account. So that adds a lot of time to the process for us.
I have it. Right here, Heather Mammon, thank you very much. I've been waiting to talk. I live at 251 Big Eddy. My house was completely demolished. But here's the thing, guys. Everybody in this room, we have nothing to lose. It's an option. The more of us that are willing to consider it, now obviously if you've got the money and your house isn't that damaged, fine, out, go on, that's perfect. I mean, I was 2 weeks from selling my house. I lost a kid 2 years ago, she was murdered, then I lost my house, so there's a lot of stuff. But my point is, let's get on board. If we're interested, let's move forward. There's a lot of stuff that is not gonna hurt to be involved, because then the county can get their stuff in, then there's more assistance for everybody that does need the program, and less that we have to come up with out of pocket. So it's a win-win. Thank you, county, let's give them a hand. Seriously, let's give the county a hand, because at least we've got a program that we can actually take advantage of versus not having anything. And the questions will get answered. It is not 100% anything, but it's better than no options.
I was just wondering on the appraisals, if you had a previous appraisal 2 months before the flood, would that be sufficient? So I had my house on the market, and also have title insurance for on my title. So how does that affect the search?
We've not accepted property owner appraisals in Eastern Kentucky. Has that changed? Okay. Well,
even if it was for the bank?
For the last of the NRCS program I've been working on, they don't accept property owner appraisals. It has to be through the program, and then the appraisal is reviewed to make sure that appraisal follows all standards. So even if you have an appraisal, I don't think we can take that into consideration. I don't think the title insurance, the county will have to get title insurance for every property as part of the program, so I don't think that will apply to the program either.
I would assume they would use that as a comp. I mean, if I was an appraiser and you just had one done 2 months ago, that would make sense to me.
Yeah, because as time goes on, property values can go down, especially since the flood.
Yeah, they'll still appraise it the day before the flood.
Well, I know, but if I've already got an appraisal, it seems like that would definitely mark it before the flood.
We can double check on that and make sure it's not changed.
All right.
Hang on just a second. Did you have something? Yes. We are here on behalf of the House of Worship over in Bell Point. I understand this is specific to residents, but my question may be more for you, Judge and Mayor. In the event that I hope I was a resident of the 1978 flood, so I understand. I was a small child, but I do understand what some of these families are going through. But my question is, if a lot of people do not take advantage of this opportunity, will dollars be allocated for commercial businesses and houses of worship? Is the grant specific for residents only?
That's a good question. Autumn and I were talking about that because I know there's a gentleman back here that represents commercial property, and I wasn't sure what to tell them this morning. So that's one of the things I think we're going to check into. Is it only, or is there an option if we say, yes, we could do a church or we could do a commercial property? So I'm getting out on a limb there because really I don't know, but I think it's something we're going to look into.
I actually asked that question this morning. At the moment where there were so many counties, because I think it was 86 counties that this flood affects, we're only offering residential properties because so many counties are trying to participate. We're very overwhelmed staff-wise with everything going on. So we're trying to, and this program, they don't have to have a hard deadline yet of when you can apply. So we want you to go ahead and apply if you're interested. But if it's 5 months down the road and we're finally to a point where, all right, this is when we're going to cut off our last application, at that point, some counties might not participate. Some places we might not be getting the participation. We might be able to open it later. We're not entirely sure, but at the moment, it's a no.
I will ask, we have that community fund set up too, and I don't know if you filled an application. I mean, that might help a little bit, but that's an option too, I would assume, if you wanted, a little bit of help. And but I do think, like Logan said, there might be a phase 2, phase 3. There's just a lot of unknowns.
Yeah. Thank you.
When we were dealing with flood adjusters, there was a wide variety, even though they're all supposed to be under the same training program. Were those the folks that are going to come in and appraise, the appraisers, that was the word. Are the appraisers, is there going to be some consistency? Is it going to be just a wide variety? Just like there was a wide variety of adjusters that it didn't work out real well for a lot of folks. And when you're talking about the value of somebody's home, there's still some subjective pieces of that. So my concern is the consistency. If it's low or high, at least make it consistent.
That's one of the reasons why they're requiring a technical review on every appraisal. So even if, we might have 2 different appraisers that are out there doing it just to make it go faster. We might use one, it really depends. But that technical review will make sure that whoever appraises it follows all standards. You'll have a chance to review it. If the number of bedrooms is wrong, obviously they'll fix that. But the technical reviewer will make sure that everything is kosher.
Hey, Bryn, let me ask you this. I think that's a great question. Are the appraisals done by local appraisers, or do they bring people in?
We'll put it out for procurement, and usually it'll probably be a local appraiser.
Potentially, you would think our local appraisers and local people in our community would say, hey, that's work for us. We want to do it. So I think when I asked Erin, her assistant, during this whole thing initially, that I'm thinking she said typically they like to use local appraisers because they know the area and they've appraised them before. I mean,
and they'll call you when they're doing the appraiser, and you can request that you be there when they appraise it, so you can show them stuff. And
I'm just concerned about the consistency.
it should be very consistent.
Okay, my question is, currently I'm under the impression that this is just for the county. What about the houses that were flooded located within the city, like Bell Point, downtown Frankfort, South Frankfort? Like, where do we stand?
We have submitted, can you hear me? The city has submitted a list of properties to NRCS as well. So far, we haven't met the number we haven't hit the magic threshold. So we're evaluating, 2 things we still need to do as a city. And Monday night at our commission meeting, we're going to be talking about it. And it's on the agenda so far. But 2 things we need to decide is, one, what are the priorities in terms of Well, first, how much are we going to commit to a program like this in terms of dollars? Because I hope it was clear earlier, federal's providing 75% match, and then the 25% is going to come local. That's either state, the grant program, or the city and or county. So it's not coming out of the pocket of the residents. And two, if you don't, let's say we don't get the grant program from the state, that doesn't mean you would get bought back at 75% of your value. Is that my understanding? It's either a buyback or it's not. It's just that means you're going to get 100% of the pre-flood appraisal value plus the extra $31,000. Is that right? No?
It depends on if the grant is approved or not.
If the grant's approved.
Yeah.
But if the grant's not approved,
then the 25% local share for just the purchase offer will be deducted. So the county will still cover 25% of all the administrative costs, so the title search, environmental review, demo, all that. The county will cover that. The 25% local share will just be deducted from the purchase offer, but that $31,000 kind of makes up for that difference. Yeah, that's just county.
well, okay, so that's what the county decided to do. But somebody's coming up with the 25%. And we have to decide that on the city end. Now, if for some reason we don't hit the magic threshold, and one other thing we need to do is prioritize which properties. If we get overwhelmed with the number of properties interested in this, we may have to prioritize which ones are more important, because at some point we're going to have to maintain these properties. The city will, if we take ownership of them. So we may have to prioritize those that are, say, on the riverbank that might help us create a better river view shed, or maybe connected to Dolly Graham Park, something, because most of Dolly Graham Park was already part of buyback, so now it's a park. So if it's something like that, would it help us expand the park? That might be a priority. That's if we have too many requests and not enough money. So those are the two things that we still need to decide. If for some reason we don't get to that magic threshold, we may have to look at partnering up with the county and submit those addresses through the county, because they have enough right now, and then we can work that out with the county, just like we do with a lot of other, we trade money back and forth a lot on these interlocal agreements, so that's something we can work out. So anybody in the city is going to be, you're going to have an option on this. That's to answer the question.
You said that really fast about the 25%.
Yeah, of course. So there's two options. The county is going to apply for a grant that would cover 20% of the 25% local share, so the county would just have 5% remaining. And if the county gets the grant, then there will be no cost to you at all. The county will cover all that. We had a cap approved at the last fiscal court meeting, or the fiscal court before that. If for whatever reason the grant is not approved, which I believe the state has said that the grant should be good, but it's no guarantees. If the grant is not approved, the county will cover 25% of all the administrative costs. The only thing that will be deducted from the property owner is 25% of the purchase offer, if that makes sense. Yes, the $31,000 will still be added to that, and that'll kind of make up for any difference in deductions.
If the county was going to cover
Who am I looking at?
If the county was going to cover 5% and the state was going to cover 20%, then why, if the grant's not approved, then why in turn would the county not still cover 5% and just deduct 20%?
And we would. On the county side, yes, that's what we're planning on, but we're also covering, the admin fees and things like that. So, in theory, worst case scenario, you'd be 80%, but then they give another $31,000 automatically. That would really kind of help compensate. And I also want to acknowledge State Representative Erin Hancock that's here in the back room. So just want to let everybody know we're talking about the state and legislators. So she is here because she does care. So.
And Ray Kinney, our Emergency Management Director, who is really involved in this heavily.
Jenny, who has the mic next?
Me.
Just you? Amy, who has the next question? Okay, go ahead.
I don't need a mic.
Okay.
You do. I do? Oh,
I got it right here.
So my question is, what do you want us to do tonight? I mean, are you wanting us to sign up if we're interested? I heard there's an application. I mean, what is the next step for us that are interested in it?
You can email me, or you can email or call the county and just say you're interested in. They'll get your name, number, property, and we'll send it to NRCS. So email, call me, or me at ERSYS, or my team, or the county.
Will there be some sort of confirmation that
Yeah, we'll send you an email letting you know we sent it to NRCS. Yeah, that's me and my team. It'll go to all of us.
Should city residents email you too, or should we?
Sure.
I think at this point we do.
Yeah,
You know,
I can forward them.
The only reason the county kind of went ahead and put 300-some thousand is because we had to put something towards this program, or we really couldn't have done this town hall tonight. You know, so the fiscal court came together, and we looked at all the options with Bryn and her team and Aaron, and we just kind of figured out, what is the state willing to do? What's left over for us? So, and I know the city just hasn't got to it yet because they haven't had a meeting yet, but we had to put something in there, and not to say that doesn't change. We're flexible, but we had to start somewhere in order to do this, to at least have this conversation. But again, we're probably, in all seriousness, the first county out of 86 that's even having this conversation. So to Logan's point, the faster we can get in, the more likely it is that we can secure money, and then at that point, we'd still have the information to get to the state before the legislators come back in, so our lobbyists can be talking to them, and our representative that's in the room can talk to her team and say, look, we really need this. This is what this grant program's for. So like I said before, there's still a lot of unknowns. We don't know everything, but we're trying to help, because I know you all are kind of living through hell right now, and there's a lot of decisions. Like I said, I went through it in 97, but that was pre-wife and pre-2 kids. I couldn't imagine the ones in this room who are doing this with children and getting them back to school, and it's a lot. So we're trying to do what we can to help. So, and again, I know there's more questions out there, and we're going to do another town hall once we kind of get some other people in the room, because those are a lot of the questions I know a lot of you all have, especially the ones that have lived on the river for many, many years. And why did it just happen now? It never happened before like this, since 38. What's gotten worse? Is the river filling? I mean, there's a ton of things you could sit here and kick around. It's not what we do. So there will be additional town halls, but we were just trying to get this one as fast as we could to get, some questions answered. So I'm hoping we did. What other questions do we have for the team?
What information do we need on email?
Just send us your name, number, and property, and that'll be good for now. We can call you.
All right, Mike in the back.
Hi. I own property right over here on Watson Court. I've been flooded 3 times since 2001. The last 2 times was this March and February. I was trying to get it dried out to where I could fix it back. I have applied for all kinds of assistance, and I've been turned down for every bit of it. My question is, the reason I was turned down was because it wasn't my primary residence. Is that going to be the case here?
As long as it's a residential property, it's fine. It doesn't have to be your primary residence, but if it's a rental or a secondary home, as long as it's residential,
It's a duplex.
that should be fine.
Yeah, and that's a very good question. I know one of the houses down on Big Eddy that's condemned was getting ready to be an Airbnb, and they have a lot of money sitting there. And so that's one of the first questions I asked. If this is a rental, does it still work? Can you still apply? And the answer was yes. So not to say there's not an extra step or two that you might have to go through. I don't know that, but you are still eligible because it is a residential property. So yeah, I think you're going to be okay.
That's the answer to my question.
Yep, good.
Thank you.
Welcome. Bryn, do you want to put or Logan, and I know the mayor and them are meeting Monday night, but I mean, do you all want to put not stop dead. We can always add to the list, don't get me wrong, but the initial push, I mean, a week or 2, or what do you all think is reasonable?
Round 1 end of the month.
End of the month. How's that? So we're going to say by August 1.
Yeah, if you're liking that, we'll look at a round 2 possibility.
Yeah. So round 1, if you all are considering it, if there's any possibility, if you could email them by the end of this month. Autumn has been compiling a list from the people that have already contacted you all. Before the list is sent, I'm going to ask you all if you can make sure you email everybody individually just to make sure. So if you signed up and you haven't heard before we send a list, you'll have a notification.
Yeah.
You won't be.
Can we just do a list now?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can email me right now. I mean, that's perfectly fine.
Notepad
Sure,
Yeah,
I'll
we
be
can
here
do that,
after,
yeah.
so you just want to come up
And
and
if
give
you
me
all
a-
have individual questions, because I know everybody has a little bit of different scenarios with your properties, you know, if it's just, you know, land and there's not a house there, is that eligible? I mean, we've heard all kinds of things. So individual questions like that, they'll be happy to answer.
Yeah.
All right, we have another question back there, please.
This is reference to Big Eddy. It might not be so much, but flooded like everybody else's within 45 days or whatever. We was over there when it popped and the tree went down and everything else. There was a tree in the backyard already. People say it's moved. It has moved. Okay, so if we go up there, sign up tonight for this assistance with the USDA. If, Lord forbid, that it floods again, is anything that you get, grant money or anything, going to come off of this? If you say $350,000, is anything, if you take it before the 18 months is up and you close, is any of that money that you get, if it happens again, going to come off that purchase price or anything, because you said you couldn't double dip?
We've not seen that situation before. I'm not 100% sure. I'll check on that. If you just want to call me this week, I'll get an answer to you.
So that means if, heaven forbid, something happens again, before you do anything, you need to, before
Yes.
you take any money,
Yes, you
you
can
need to
always call and
contact
check.
y'all.
Yeah.
Everybody
that's
needs
great.
to know that they need to contact y'all
Yes.
before.
Yes.
Okay. Because it's sliding.
Who has another question? Right here.
My name's Ronnie Finn, and thank you for getting my fish mill off my backyard. I moved down to Big, I don't need that.
Okay.
I moved down to Big Eddy. I moved down to Big Eddy 1976. I got flooded in 1978. Totaled my house and I rebuilt. We developed a real good neighborhood down there, and everybody was real close together. And now I'm looking at three of my first neighbors as you come in Big Eddy, that the possibilities of their house would be tore down. My concern is when you tear those houses down, who's going to maintain that piece of property? Okay, I've got your number.
I mean, it's in the contract. The county or city have to maintain it.
Yes.
But my thought on those is to talk to like an organization like Reforest Frankfort or something, and maybe the next tree planting we do on the properties down there to help hold that bank.
Right.
And there's less mowing and maintenance. There could be other things worked out. You know, if you wanted to put a garden on it, there could probably be something worked out between, because you're the next door neighbor, let's say, that you say, you know, I'll take care of this. And, you know, it's not mine, it's still county property, but nothing can be put on it but a vegetable garden and a picnic bench.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to be different scenarios everywhere. And if it's in the county, you know, or the city, we'll just have to work it out.
Well, I'm interested in maintaining that pieces of property before mine to keep the neighborhood looking good and keep people from coming in and dumping and, you know, what
we'd
usually
love for you
happens.
to keep taking care of it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's consider
we
it
got a
done.
lot to take care of, so that'd be great. But yeah, we can work on all that.
I think you're aware of my circumstances, as is Tina. I'm still kind of battling from 2021, where the river pulled my foundation in completely, and luckily I somehow had this revelation last year to spend a fortune and repair the foundation with a structural wall, and it saved my house. Otherwise, two houses would be condemned. My second floor was not affected by about a foot of water, or it missed it by about a foot of water. My entire downstairs has been remediated completely, or otherwise I can't live in a house full of mud and mold and slime below my feet. So I have remediated that, but I have spent no more money on improvements. Is there some way to mitigate those costs? Because otherwise I'm in a house that might as well be condemned. If I did not do the remediation, as a normal adult would do with their property, which is worth more than $500,000, I almost had no choice. So I had to get Surf Pro in there, and if I had not, the insurance wouldn't have even reimbursed me for cleanup. So can I ask you?
Did you get FEMA or flood insurance? Is that what you're saying?
FEMA flood insurance, actually they've given me good coverage. That's not a dispute. It's if this process drags on and drags on and on. Oh, I'm sorry, turn it off. Oh. If this process drags on and on, my house is in limbo. Do I fix it? Do the Rogers leave the river and the city for that matter? Because we've been here, 200 plus years, and we have had a house on the river for 40 plus years, two together. And my brother and his wife, their house is condemned. It's the one that you saw right next to Eldrin's house, which was condemned. So is there any hope that the river is going to return at all, or is there any incentive for us to actually try to rebuild at all? I'm on Travis Circle, and I got nailed hard.
And I know, so we're still waiting. You've been working with FEMA on your other properties too. And so the FEMA, for some reason, I think Tina's been working, Tina's been working with him for like 2.5 years, right? And Belinda, yeah. So, but I think even on those properties, you could sign up, and whichever one comes in first wins. So, even if you wanted to kind of fill, for those other properties, I think there's a potential that you could sign those up too. And what has been explained to me is whichever one comes in first, even if like FEMA were to say, we're going to go ahead, because Congressman Comer called me earlier today. He's very frustrated. He swears he's going to talk to the president next week. He thinks he's going to help with public assistance for FEMA, but I don't know what that means. But FEMA, as of this point, has no buyout program. So really all we have to offer is the USDA program, the NRCS. No, but I can't tell you what's going on in the federal government. And so I think what has been explained to me is because there's so many disasters happening with FEMA that they just keep stacking up.
Every one of my city.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So we don't know. Go ahead, back there in the back.
Well, first of all, I wanted to thank you all for having this program and for everybody showing up. I mean, I think community is so important. I've had a house on the river for 45 years. And I believe we will visit this issue again. But I have a quick question on, once the buyout happens and it becomes a park, what happens if a neighbor, like in the future, puts some buildings on it? Who enforces them not to put those buildings out there?
It's county property, so they would be trespassing. So just like normally if you trespass on your neighbor's property, it's the same situation.
How about if it's a city property? But who enforces that? I mean, how do I? It's our property, so we would enforce that. Thank you. I'll be back with you.
She's coming, Susan. That's all right. We just want to make sure you're heard.
Yeah, you don't really want to hear me, but.
Oh, come on.
So the only question I have is, it sounds like to me that if everybody here, or 90% of everybody here applied, that doesn't guarantee that the funds would hold up for all the spots. What would be the process? Is it first come, first serve, or is it the houses that are directly on the river?
So the houses that we go ahead and enter, so we'll have to do the whole agreement, all the houses that we want to put up. We'll send that to Washington, D.C., and they'll look at the agreement saying this is this many houses at this property value. They will, if they okay the agreement, which they will, they'll put a thumb next to that amount of money. They'll move it to its own account, set it to the side for us. And then that way, that kind of money is allocated for that property. So say if that property value goes high and we end up paying you a little more than what we originally estimated, then we'll eventually, if that pot of money ever runs out, then we'll go back and get the rest from Washington, D.C., and we'll just continue to have that money. But we want to go ahead and set that money aside because this is a national pot of money. And every single state, whether it be floods, wildfires, hurricanes, they're all going to compete for this same pot of money. So the quicker we get on it, the we guarantee that's earmarked for us.
Okay. So everybody that applied would get it, or would it you all not be? I mean, like if everybody put their pot in and they're sitting there waiting for you all to do a buyout, then you would guarantee that their house is going to be bought, or are they still going to be in limbo until the complete process is done?
We can guarantee the property will be bought.
For federal funding.
For the federal part.
Okay.
We're only in control of that 75%.
Because the history's been that the buyouts have usually been a whole neighborhood, not specific houses.
Well, and they even said early on, like, we could put things on there. We could have just said condemned houses only.
Right.
We could say just the ones that butt up to the river only.
Okay.
But they're confident there's so much money in this fund
That they can
we
do more.
take care of everybody.
Okay.
So to your point, though, yes, let's say we asked for $5 million and we got half of that. I mean, we would have to prioritize the worst houses first.
Right,
But that would be a
right.
whole nother conversation. But after talking to them and their team.
I just don't want people here to be to misunderstand, saying, okay, I don't have to fix my house and live in it for the next 2 years because this is going to happen, and then in 2 years, oh, sorry, your house isn't up for the buyout.
Okay, so to your point, Logan, let me ask you, and through Eastern Kentucky too, so let's say we put in for an ask for $5 million. How long does it typically take on the federal level to say if that's approved or not? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I mean, does it happen really quick, or is it 6 months?
It should be really quick.
Okay.
Right now, the process, it'll go to our national easements team. They'll look at it, they'll agree it on probably within a couple weeks. It now actually has to go to Doge, and Doge has to approve the agreement as well. So hopefully, once we turn everything in, it would be about a month at most. And then they have to go back, write the actual agreement that has this amount of money that we'll sign with the judge and the county, and saying, then that pot of money will be secure for us.
I want to piggyback on Susan's question, though. It's not when they apply that you're guaranteeing that there's going to be a federal buyback. At what point can you say with confidence?
When we get that DSR, it's called a disaster survey report, when we get that back and either you or the judge, whoever signs it, that's when that money's locked. So once ever we actually enter into a contract with the county or the city or whoever, that's when the money is locked at that point.
And that guarantees everybody that?
Yes, those, because it will be by property. It will guarantee everybody that has already signed up, because we'll send up that list of properties, and they'll look at the overall amount of properties, they'll look at the price of the properties, they'll look at taking a lot of different things into effect. And so that's what they'll approve off of.
Okay, can I ask one more question? So say you have a house on one lot and a garage on the other. Do you have to do both?
So are they on two separate deeds? So if it's a separate deed, then technically it wouldn't be a residential property, so that one wouldn't count. But in a different situation, if you had a house and a garage on the same parcel and you wanted to keep the garage parcel, NRCS will come out and do a site inspection to see if that second parcel is in the floodplain. If it is in the floodplain, you can't separate it. It's all or nothing.
They're on different deeds. They're both in the floodplain.
So it would be two separate properties technically.
So you could
you'll keep the garage one won't qualify, so you'll keep that parcel, and then the residential parcel will be entered in the program.
Gotcha.
That'd be up to you.
Oh, my.
Hey, when's the city going to have this meeting? If the funds are so tight, when are we going to be doing this? My house is on Watson Court over here as well.
I think you go in and put your name, and we've already submitted a couple of properties to the NRCS, so we've already been taking.
There's some confusion that they can't put it in yet. So there's some confusion that the city properties can't put it in, but you're saying they can.
They can. They can. And now we're going to have our commission meeting on Monday night to set some parameters on there in terms of how much are we willing to back this with financially, kind of prioritize if we are oversubscribed and there's too many and we don't have enough funds, how are we going to prioritize this? But by all means, if you live in the city, I think we want to get all the addresses now because these will be submitted. The city needs to hit a threshold before NRCS will partner with us on this. So if we don't hit that threshold, I commit to working with the county to make sure, because it's in the county, right? Your property's in the
exactly.
county.
So do I need to submit with you as well with them, or just submit with them?
They get the names with them. We'll submit it, and if for some reason if we don't feel like we're going to have, I'm speaking for myself here as just the mayor, but we'll work it out with the whole commission. But if it looks like we won't have enough names in the city, we'll work with the county to see if we submit them all in the same round, this July round. So, because I think that we're going to have enough names countywide. You already have established that.
It's better to go ahead and submit and have the name there anyways. You can back out any time. But let's go ahead and have the names there and just go ahead and send them to the ER Assist email, and we'll break them apart after that.
And on that, I would just say, if you're interested, whether you're city or your county, give us your address, and I wouldn't worry about that so much. We'll work out that in terms of how it gets submitted.
I will ask that you include in that email, if it is a city property, just say it's city. That way I don't get anything sent to the wrong place. Yeah. That would be till closing, and that's just an estimate. It can be longer, it can be shorter. Snags are really common with this program. So, yeah, but that would be 18 months until closing. The rest of the process doesn't impact you. Yeah, the appraisal will be sooner than that. We'll have to request money from NRCS. That usually takes a month or two. Each step has different variations. But when you sign up, we'll do a first call, and we'll talk you through the whole thing. So.
I had a question it's somewhat related, but not related to the buyout. So I work for an environmental org. I'm a planner as well. So like my portfolio includes like FEMA, NOAA, EPA, Interior, et cetera. There are programs that help with flood mitigation and elevation. And that's what I haven't heard like the county and city talk about. And I'm wondering if like there'll be a town hall to talk about that at some time in the future. Because my concern is like we're going to lose the social fabric of Frankfort with people being displaced, moving out. So why not look at like communities like in Japan or Amsterdam, where we got to let the river move, but like let's elevate above it. So that's what I'm interested to hear. If there's any, like I live on Paul Sawyier Drive. I got a quote for elevation for my house. There's a lot, but there are programs. There's like, I think I emailed you all about it a few months ago. The Swift Currents, there's like from the Inflation Reduction Act. I don't think it got rescinded in the big, beautiful bill, but I think it was like over $400 million to help with stuff like that. So I'm kind of curious if the city, county would think about like, we are a river city, let's elevate and mitigate.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things, kind of when we started this whole meeting, we talked about bringing the Kentucky River Authority and Division of Water and anybody else that you all can think of to do a bigger town hall as far as just for that reason. But yeah, tonight we just wanted to focus on the buyouts to get this program going, but we are reaching out to those organizations to try to get another one scheduled to have those conversations. So yes. She had a question back there, right? Yes, I thought you did. I just can't hear.
I think it's already answered. I think it's already answered.
So the question was, is there a deadline?
Yeah.
So first phase, we just set the deadline of August 1. So if you're considering it on the first round, that Logan and them can get it sent off to DC or wherever they send it to, that would be August 1. So by the end of this month. Now, if a month later you decide, I've changed my mind, I'm just kind of done, then we can apply again. Okay. But we're wanting to get as many people as we can because the funds are first come, first serve. So, if you're on the fence, it doesn't cost you anything to go ahead and put your name in. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Wow. All right, any other questions? All right, if y'all could join me and give a round of applause for our panel up here.